Good morning. Welcome back. I'm welcoming myself back. Welcome back to Who Am I? Who am I? Such a good question. I think about it every day. It's my favorite topic. And the idea of pondering the nature of reality instead of just taking at face value apparent reality and everybody else's word about what it is. Speaking of which, so let me see where we're going to go today, because I don't want to be pedantic. I don't have any particular agenda, although I do have things that I prefer. Like I prefer a world of peace and beauty and life and abundance and energy and wisdom and efficiency and clarity. That's what I want. And I'm getting clearer and clearer about what I want in this world, and how I see what it is I'm looking at. And I want to share it. But I want to be careful, because I don't want to start a movement. I am a kind of a hermit, and I sort of want to stay that way. I don't need to be popular. I don't even... oh, actually, I'm not even sure that I'm connected yet. So hold on a second. I should have gone back to my channel and connected the two, and maybe I didn't, in which case the recording is hearing this, but the live people aren't. So let's connect this. Let's see. I don't think anybody heard me. The chat rate, I think the only chat I got right now is welcome to live chat. Okay, I think I'm up now. All right, good. That means I get to start again. Hold on one moment. Let me get back to my studio. I'm going to stop this recording. Yes. And I'm going to start another one. Good morning. And welcome back. Glad to be back to the show, Who Am I? Every day we ask this question with as much honesty and lack of hubris. That's not the right word. Who am I? Who am I as a... Actually, what am I doing? What am I doing? I would like to have a frank conversation. I don't want to be pedantic. I don't want to stand on a podium and shake my finger at people and tell them, I want to share something with you that's both personal and totally not personal. And if we could all learn to cultivate this position where you can look at the world and not take it personally, expand that neutral voice you have at the center of your being. You have a neutral voice, one that's just kind of just looking at stuff and just observing. Oh, I see that. I see that. I see that. I see that. And actually, at this level, wow, where do I begin? Where do I begin to talk about who we are and how we're designed? Because at one point, I get this blast of information as I want to talk about everything. What is everything? How do you talk about everything? Well, from a who am I position is a great place to start, because it's both personal and not personal. And honestly, part of what started to shift and pull together in a cohesive way, my whole understanding of the life, the universe, and everything began in earnest about 5 years ago, close to 5 years ago. It was at the very beginning of 2020, and we're almost at the beginning of 2025. So when I met the teachings of Abraham, because she has an interesting way of going about what she teaches. She is, I've been to one of her seminars. It was a cruise seminar, so I saw quite a few sessions. There was quite a few hours of work that we did there. I don't remember how many, but it was dozens of hours. Was it that many hours? It was a whole 7 days, and probably 4 of those days we had sessions, and they were probably 5 hours a day. I don't know. Maybe it was 20 hours. Maybe it was 2 dozen. Maybe it was a dozen and a half. I don't know. It was a lot of hours. It wasn't just an hour seminar. I watched her for quite a long time. And her teachings are interesting. The teachings of Abraham are interesting because they are from a very matter-of-fact place. They are from a very not when you watch her sessions when she's talking to Wayne Dyer's lovely, and but his method is like everybody else's through all of time. You know, you find these frequencies, and now you're locked in these sacred frequencies, and you're talking about it in these tones of, you know, whatever, and that's good. However, you can abstract it all the way down to the mathematics. And that's what Abraham's teachings demonstrated to me, that you don't have to take it into this sacred place, that there's a place where it could be in the mathematics classroom, you know, this understanding of who we are. And as I began to explore thinking about and talking about my favorite concept that she puts forth, which is that of the inner being. The inner being. It's such an interesting concept. This vibrational greater self that is, and you know, as I listen to her teachings, this is my method. When I look at a teacher and I think about what a teacher's saying, and I ask myself, what is she talking about? What is she trying to say? What is he trying to say? What are they trying to say? Where are they coming from? What's their point? And if their point's a negative one, so I was thinking about this. I'm going to jump around a lot. Like as advertised, this show is stream of consciousness. It's me just skating through the recesses of my own mind. And we're just going to see what we come up with. I don't mean to go into anywhere controversial. I'm pushing back against nobody. I'm blaming nobody. I have no list of those in reality who are part of the conspiracy, who are... None of that. I'm just skating through the recesses of my mind. Stream of consciousness. Who am I? And I'm going to riff on the topic. And right now, we're going to talk about the inner being because I like the way Abraham puts it forward. She puts it forward in a way that's quite matter of fact. And she's just talking about, she talks about it as much as she talks about it and no farther. Well, we're going to take what she's said and we're going to take it a little bit farther. And we're going to add and mix all of the other teachers that I have come across in my life into this big melting pot of positivity, you know, but it's not going to be necessarily based in material reality, although there is a correlation. Absolutely there is. We're going to... Who am I? Who am I? I am two beings. Now, quite obviously, I'm the one that we all know about. The one that when we get hurt, we take it to the hospital to get bandaged up. That self you know about. But to be able to talk about the other aspect of you, with as much clarity, with as much identity. Identify with her. Identify with her. Don't think of her as somebody other than you. When you think about her as somebody other than you, then you imagine that you can escape her. But you can't escape her. And not only that, you wouldn't want to. However, if you don't know about her, she can be bedeviling your life if you do not know about your inner being and how you are connected to her, how you are mathematically connected to her, how you are vibrationally connected to her, how you are eternally and informationally connected to her. You cannot get away from her, and she looks at the world in a pure positive way. She is looking at what is. And this brings me to the concept I was pondering to myself this morning. The concept of, excuse me, the what is, with a capital I. Pondering that for a minute, meditating on it. And it's interesting because what your negative self is concerned about, if you think about it, and we're going to think about it right now. What your negative self is concerned about is it is thinking about the is not. That's what makes it negative. And what do I mean by this? It's looking at what you didn't do, who you aren't, what you haven't achieved, how you didn't measure up. Do you see what I mean? It's looking at the degrees that you did not earn. Your negative self is looking at the perfect daughter that you never were. It's looking at the is not. But do you know what? Shake yourself for just a second. The is not, quite literally, does not exist. So what is your inner being looking at? Your inner being is looking at what is. As a matter of fact, there is so much of what is to look at that she really doesn't have time to bother looking at the is not. And she never, ever, ever looks back. There's no reason to, because all the information of back there came forward into the now with the isness that she's looking at. So there's no reason to look at the is not. There's no reason to look at the behind. So she is just looking at, vibrationally speaking, she is in touch with the whole universe. She's in touch with the Planck field. She's in touch with the current shape of the Planck field. In this moment, where are all the particles that have organized into particles? And what vector speed and what direction are they going? What velocity are they going? What temperature are they? How are they mixing with others? You know, she's in touch with all that because she's feeling the whole universe vibrationally. And how is she doing it? She's doing it because the universe is holographic. The universe is holographic, and it is transferring all of its information from the teeny weeny small even unto the largety large. It is all transferring its information up and down the scales through this reverberation. The word is reverberation. All of the vibrations are touching one another and transferring their information as the Planck field spins. As a matter of fact, I heard Nassim say something, I think he just said it, within the last couple of weeks. It was not that long ago of a podcast. He was talking to somebody and he was trying to explain something. I think that the whole thing updates itself at every spin at the Planck level. So every time that Planck makes one full spin, which Planck? The organized one. The stochastic one is there. It's a fullness of frequency, a Planck field that is just buzzing with energy and information, and it is transferring this information freely back and forth across this Planck field. And we're going to have to come to grips with the fact, with the understanding, with the informational understanding that this is who we are. We are inseparably one with the field around us. Quit trying to play this game all by yourself. You can't. Now, you can go off by yourself and play. You don't have to mix overtly with the outside group. The lone bull elk, bugling out in the wilderness, not running with a herd, but interacting with the field on his own, is still playing with the field. So rather than, say, I have a tendency to be a hermit, and sometimes I blame myself for that. And I'm like, oh, I really should be this other thing. Why am I who I am? I should be this other thing that I am not. You see how that works? See how the negative mind does that to you? And in actual fact, I can play nice with the whole field. I am one with the field. I don't have to be in the middle of a crowd in order to be playing with the field. And honestly, in the middle of a crowd, you might be... So what I think I want, what I've been looking for, is I want to interact with the rest of the world, but I want to do it from a wiser position. I don't want to just join them in their stupidity because I can't bear to be alone, because I feel so alone, because I never feel alone. I never, ever, ever feel alone. For one thing, I make it a point to always fill my space around me, or usually, not always. I do enjoy the space in my own head. That usually happens in the early hours of the morning when I'm laying in bed and can't really turn the loud on right away. Anyway, even if I wanted to, because I'm not alone. Somebody sleeping is next, nearby. But I do keep company in the background. Usually it's my favorite sitcom, whatever that happens to be. One of my favorite. I have a collection. Some of them are oldies. Some of them are not quite as oldies. None of them are really current, are they? I don't know. I keep stuff running in the background that I don't really have to listen to, but it makes me feel cheerful. Whenever I walk into a library and I look at the books on the shelf, I know that every single one of them represents human beings who were in a thought. And when I read the words that they wrote, I feel like I'm connecting to their spirit. I'm walking where someone else would. I don't know. I that doesn't adequately explain it. But I don't feel alone. I've never felt alone. I feel like I am utterly surrounded by... But it's a general feeling, because I don't know who any of them are. I'm never visited by any specific individuals. In a way, I feel like I'm alone. But in a different way, I never feel like I'm alone. Does that make any sense? I think it's true, too. People, they say that we are really, really supported by a fullness in the space around us of non-physical consciousness. Ones that just kind of hang there, non-physical, and other ones who pop in and out of experience of the physical, but it's all this consciousness, awareness of what? What is it aware of? It's aware of the physical. That's why Abraham calls it the leading edge. The leading edge. She always talks about these leading edge discussions. And her audience always pats themselves on the back and thinks that what she's talking about is, this leading edge conversation that has never been unto the universe. And in a way, she is. But the very act of being on this rolling edge of materiality means that you are the field coming into coherence. The more coherent that you become with the field around you, it's like you're becoming in phase. And the more in phase you get, the higher your energy level that you have access to, up to and including an infinite amount. an infinite amount that is only contingent upon in phase with the two aspects of yourself, basically. This physical aspect and this non-physical aspect, when they become in phase with one another, the energy level spikes through the roof, apparently, and the data flow becomes uninhibited. It's like lack of resistance, all data coming through. That's like pure data exchange at the Planck level. That's what you're talking about at that point. And then you have the data exchange at the larger and larger levels, at the proton level, at the atomic level, at the biological level, the level of this morphogenetic field of biology and life here at the surface of the planet. That's a field of energy and information exchange. And we are one with that field, by the way. That's who we are. You are not an individual. Although, pardon me, let me contradict myself, you absolutely are an individual. But this individual that you are is contained in a larger field. So just take that into consideration. Don't fight with it. Don't worry about that. Don't fuss about it. It's not a problem. It's actually a good thing. It's a good thing that there is a larger frame that we're in. Otherwise, who the hell are we? You know? And what does it mean if there is no larger frame than just I am this individual and go figure it out? No, you're in a bigger frame. You're in a bigger frame. And that bigger frame is also you, by the way. And the separation between you and this bigger frame that you are has to do with the identity patterns that you are practicing in your own physical mind. What are you identifying with? Who am I? How are you answering that question? Who am I? You're a lot of things, and I wouldn't argue with any of them. You could say, I'm a doctor, if you are a doctor. I mean, you could argue with me if I said I was a doctor. But, I am this, I am that. I was born at this point. I like my toast buttered, or I don't know. I am. Who am I? How do you answer that question? I am a physical being in a physical universe. And that which I am, the part that I identify with constantly at all times, is in a very precarious situation because it is made of meat. Did you know that? Had you noticed that? This HBV that you're driving this season, it's made of meat. And now try to tell me that I'm safe. Because I'm all gobbed up. My identity is all there. Well, you're a lot more than that. And so you are a vibrational being in a vibrational universe. And if you don't know that, then she hangs like a chain around like a ball and chain around your neck, holding you down and back. When you know that you are vibrational, that you are these two beings, now you can do something with it. Because now all of a sudden your negative self makes sense. Oh, that's just small me. That's just physical me taking a thought because I have free agency. I can take any thought. I can take one that's true. I can take one that's not true. I can take one that's true but relevant. I can take one that's true and irrelevant. I can take one that's not true and relevant. I can do all kinds of things. So the measure of whether it's true or not, it should not necessarily be the measure of why I look at something or why I put my attention on something. Although if it's true, you can register it for a second. Oh, that's true. Ooh, yikes. And as a matter of fact, I think we're here to do that. To register, ooh, war, yikes, I don't like that. I don't like that. That doesn't feel like who I am. That does not feel like what I want. that doesn't feel like who we are or why we're here. That feels like some sort of a misalignment of the equipment somehow. Ooh, misalignment of the equipment, you say. Funny you should say that. Since your larger self is attached to source, you are the field. That's what that source self of you that you feel inside of you as your inner being, your vibrational greater self. She's yourself as the Planck field kind of thing. She's yourself as the one connected to all the information. How is she connected to all the information? It's vibrational and it's holographic. And every one of your protons in the Planck field of every one of your protons is contained, sort of digitally encoded, you might say, the information of what the whole rest of the universe is doing. It's kind of like that. So how does it do this? What's the Planck field of a proton, you ask? Well, how many Plancks could there be in a single proton? And what is a proton? A proton is a vortex of this ether of the Planck field coming into coherence, coming into in phase with the it's coming into spin. It's a vortex of spin. It's a little black hole. And there are trillions and trillions of Plancks within the Planck field of a single proton. And a proton is really, 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 really small already. You can't see a proton. You have to register it with, I don't even know how they obliquely go about this secondary, second-hand way of observing what protons are and what they do. How you take two protons, get them, smash them together and then record that's what we do. It's all different electromagnetic fields and different frequencies and different, we register it as this particle and that particle. Anyway, how many Plancks are there in the Planck field of a single proton? Well, if you took every one of those Plancks and grew them from the size of a Planck to the size of a grain of sand, just so that you could look at them. Now you want to see how big that proton just got? It's from our sun to Alpha Centauri. That's the diameter of the damn thing. Make that a sphere. Fill it with sand grains. And they're all densely packed. They're densely packed, just like if they were in a sand dune. They're all... That Planck field is so dense. Its density level is 10 to the 93, I believe. 10 to the 93. That is a huge, huge number. The density of the universe, if you packed all of the matter, the visible matter in all of the universe, into 1 centimeter cubed, it would be like, it's 10 to the 55, I think is what it is. Something like that. Many orders of magnitude less dense than that Planck field is inside of that proton. And that's what a proton is. It's a little vortex of this ether spinning, coming into coherence. It's a little black hole. And it has all of the information of the whole universe is contained in a fractal reflection within this black hole proton. And that's what every one of your protons that you are made of is. And it is updating the information of the universe every turn of the spin. Every turn. It is updating. So you not only have all the frequencies of all the information of all the universe with you, genius you, walking around with you at all times. it's updated every Planck second. It's absolutely current. The little tiny parts all across the universe are uploading their information to the whole, and the information of the whole is downloading its information to the parts. And it's this flow of energy and information, and that's what it is, and that's who you are. And how it comes into form is when an area in the field, an area of the grid, comes into phase, comes into coherence, the energy level starts to spike, and matter starts pouring right out of that point in the universe. Now, there are natural processes that are throwing this field into motion. Gradient density in the field, difference in density is in the field, and I'll tell you where the biggest difference in density is: the Planck density as opposed to the cosmological density. That density different gradient right there is enough to throw the whole damn universe into the spin that you see. The gradient, the difference in those densities between the Planck density and the universal density is like 123 orders of magnitude difference between the negative 27 or the negative 30. That's what it is. The 10 to the negative 30 density of the at the universal scale, at the cosmological scale, and then 10 to the plus 93, so it's 10 to the minus 30 versus 10 to the 93. That's the gradient difference of density in our universe between the Planck and the cosmological. And that's what's throwing the whole thing into spin. If you look at, so Nassim's favorite visual analogy that he points at is a hurricane. A hurricane, the event of a hurricane is caused by a slight change in density at the surface of the water level, right at the surface of the water, caused by temperature change, temperature rise. And it gets this thing spinning, and it ends up being this really big event caused by only a couple of degrees difference in temperature will cause that big of an event where sprites are, coming right out of the... And that's nothing like what the universe is doing. Nothing like what the universe is doing. And that's who you are. So let's see. I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to pause for just a moment. I'm at a half-hour level at the recording. I'm a little over that at the... I'm going to go see whether there's anybody over there. I probably shouldn't even do that because it can throw me off because I'm not used to the toggle quite so much. So this is who we are. We are our small selves, and then we are our large selves. And this large self can see the whole thing and is looking at it for the most part without pushing back against anything. Because when you toggle out to the largest of the frames that you are, that from that position, nothing can touch you. Nothing can hurt you. It's like, I got it on a note somewhere here that I noticed yesterday. I thought it was good. Nothing that is real is threatened, can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists, and therein lies the peace of God. I think that's what it says. I think nothing real can be threatened. So when you toggle back out to your largest self, from that frame, you know you're safe. And you are safe from that position. You are safe. If you would start fostering is not the right word, cultivating maybe, cultivating that perspective of you, you could cultivate a knowledge of yourself from a position that when you die, you're still going to be that self. But if all of your identity is wrapped up in this physical self that you think you are, and you know what? I don't even want to come at it from any kind of spooky sacred place. This is just who we are. And I think from a mathematical, from a matter-of-fact kind of place, we could all be learning this when we were young. This is who you really are. And this is what we're really all about. We are all in this together. And this collective project is, what is the object of the exercise? Why are we here? How about why we are here? The object of the exercise. It's like, oh my God, if automation and AI takes over all our jobs, then what's the meaning of life? Why are we here? I'll tell you why we're here. So that the whole field thrives in glory, in beauty, in fun, in abundance, in knowing, in love. Don't you love the world around you? Don't you love those ecosystems, those funny little creatures, those amazing, amazing creatures that our world has produced? Don't you love them? I have always had a problem that I loved them too much. And so I could never actually face the truth of the things that human beings do to the rest of the animals on this planet and the rest of the biofield and each other. Some people, the trigger for them is children. Others, for them, the trigger is small animals, furry little, mammalian things with twitchy whiskers and gleaming eyes. For other people, that's their terror, with gnashing teeth and, beady little eyes. But for me, it's always been the natural world. It's been, when I was 12 years old, my family, or the core of my family, I had quite a large extended family, but father, mother, me, brother, and another sister who was 18 at the time. So she didn't stay long. She didn't like it there, and she didn't want to be there. And so she bugged out and went back home. But I stayed for 2 years with what had been a large family, which then turned into a family of 4 in a strange, strange land. And but the amazing things that we saw, right outside of town. I mean, right outside of town. So like you drive, and how big was Nairobi at the time? Maybe wasn't nearly as big as a city like Phoenix, and that's where we had been living. So that's what I was comparing it to. It sprawled a bit, but it wasn't dense. I don't know how big was Nairobi. You drive less than a half an hour and you're in a park, Nairobi Park, where you're driving through like thousands and thousands and thousands of animals, herds of this and flocks of that, and crocodiles and hippopotamuses and elephants and lions, and it was just amazing. It was amazing. They had big fences on one side of the park to keep the animals from wandering into the populated parts of the city and getting into trouble, So I fell in love with it. And I have never been back because I have been afraid. I have been afraid of what I would attack, it would make me go into a negative place, to see the loss, to feel the sense of. I read something once in I think it was in a Reader's Digest magazine. It was back in the late 90s, where they were estimating the percentage of elephants that had been wiped out since the 1970s, which is when we had been there. And so, I spent a lot of big crying about, oh my God, that means most every elephant that I actually laid my eyes on is probably dead. If that high of a percentage of them are gone. And so I've never been able to face that. And so what this Who Am I exercise for me is circling around to another place where I can see who we are from a positive place. I can see where we're getting it wrong. And from this positive place, I can see where we're off. And there is nothing. I am filled with nothing but hope for the future about what we can do to turn this whole thing around. into a place where it's going to be extra, extra, read all about it. The sixth mass extinction is over and the great repopulation is underway. The great rebiological diversification project is underway. That's the news I want to hear. Extra, extra, we know who we are. We finally know who we are. And we can use this information of who we are to make this world a better place and to organize our everything that we do in a better way. We can get together and we can decide just in general, we decide what we want and who we are and what kinds of things we want to encourage and what kinds of things we want to discourage from a larger frame perspective, but not from a place where you've got an order that is being imposed from the outside. Where someone says, you gotta, in order to keep order, you've got to memorize all of these edicts, and by jingies, if you cross any of these, you're in trouble. It's not that kind of spirit. It's more a general understanding of this. The idea is alignment. Alignment, people. That's all we have to focus on. Focus on your own alignment. Focus on helping others to achieve their alignment. Soothe one another into their alignment. Soothe the frightened. Let them know there is order in this universe and we can help promote this order. And you don't have to force it from the outside. As a matter of fact, you don't want that kind of order. That kind of order is the groupthink and lockstep crap that so many people that we have run into as a human family. We have run into this problem over the last century or two. We know what that one is. It is a problem. We don't want communism. We don't want a dictatorship of any kind. We want freedom. We want everyone to call their path. But we want collectively to generally understand some foundational aspects of who we are collectively, who we are together, what the win-win position really is, and how you can incorporate that general concept into your own individual life. Don't start a project that's a win-lose project of any sort, F you, I've got mine, I don't care if I've just raped this particular ecosystem. I got the gold out of it for me, and I'm going to go over there where it isn't spoiled, and I'm going to spend my gold over there and have fun. That wouldn't be a good calculation, would it? If it doesn't include the win-win, it isn't a good calculation, because you are more than just yourself. You aren't going to be as happy if you win and your neighbor loses. Now you can get into a place where you can learn to focus only on what is right in front of you, so I can ignore the fact that I am the rest of the field too. But your inner being never forgets. Your inner being never, ever, 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 ever forgets. And that's what I mean when I say you are harnessed to this pure positive energy that is connected to the field, the information of the connected to the physicality, connected to all of those things. That's who your inner being is. She is connected to it vibrationally, and she is reading the field holographically. She doesn't have to go anywhere to know all things. You don't have to go anywhere to know all things. You actually don't have to crack a book to know all things. Absolutely nothing to this. This might as well be radio. And speaking of which, I'm 41 minutes in now, 42 minutes going on the recording anyway. I'm going to go check the chat room just to make sure that anybody's listening or that anybody can hear me. I don't know if anybody really even can hear me. Is anybody here? I have one view. 20 minutes. Oh, it's my friend. Hi. Oh, yeah, yeah. I did a good job starting. Anyway, I really got rolling with it today. That's one of the problems that I have whenever I come over and check the chat room, is that it toggles me back down to my specific self. And it takes me a minute to get the plane back in the air, But I'll get better and better at that. I maintain that our design is this dual system, this system of overview combined with your specific view. And the ultimate thing you're looking for is a life where your small self isn't disagreeing with what your larger self knows. Quit disagreeing with your larger self. Are you going to disagree with the one that knows everything? The one that is in touch with all things? The one that is in touch with the actual physical information of of all of the atoms everywhere in all of the universe? I wouldn't disagree with her. So alignment is really all that we have to worry about. Alignment is all that we have to that we need worry about in others too. Because when they achieve their alignment with their inner being, they become all of a sudden safe and peaceful too. That's the point where we all are going to, it's like the Venn diagram, that place where we all intersect, where the win-win position, you need to, I really shouldn't go look at the chat room until I'm done. I would like to be able to toggle easier and quicker and more smoothly jump right back into the. As a matter of fact, if you follow me over time, you will probably witness me getting better and better at doing that. And all I'm doing is demonstrating to you something about your nature. And this is really the the biggest thing I took away from Abraham is, what she tells you about the universe aside, not completely aside, but slightly aside. What she's doing every day when she does her work is she is demonstrating the toggle position. When she becomes Abraham, that is, she's over there in a place where she's just completely locked into non-physical consciousness. Now, she is not at that point locked into all of the... Esther doesn't know enough to keep up with what Abraham knows. And she has kept Esther and Abraham separate from one another for the last 35, 40 years. She doesn't even pretend to try to blend the two of them. And it's a good thing she doesn't, because what she's doing is demonstrating the two sides of ourselves. Abraham is that universal consciousness aspect that she tells you all the time. Hey, you can do this too. Every single one of you has access to this, But then she does it in a kind of a way that keeps them separate so that you can continue to see the two sides. But us as human beings, we can look at that and go, oh, I see what you're doing. I see that. And I took her literally. I took her literally as so she talks about where do I want to go with from here? Because I've been talking about Planck's. I've been talking about the shape in physicality of the universe in physics. I've also been talking about the nature of the negative self, who your negative self really is. Now, at one point, I got a teaching from Bashar. He was talking about the positive and negative. He's talking about the inner voice inside of you. And if my Who Am I show is anything, it is an exercise in little me. I could tell you my name, but it doesn't really matter. That self, trying to get the heck out of the way because there was something inside of me that really wanted to broadcast. Wanted to broadcast to me, wanted to broadcast to you. It's an inner voice of myself. I would say that in my life, if you were going to characterize my personality type, I have largely been the observer. I am the fly on the wall. I try to blend into the background and watch what's going on. Although I can be very gregarious. I can be the life of the party. As a matter of fact, if attention comes my way, I start being the center of it. But I often just want to abdicate. I was the baby of my family, and I had an older sister who was very outgoing, gregarious. She was fun-loving. She was funny. She was creative. She was artistic. She never really saw herself as amazing as we all saw her, but she was more the center of attention. And actually, most of my cousins and such that hung together in a gang, they were all some 6 years older than me. So in order for me to be included, I sort of had to blend into the background. Nobody wanted me to be the center of anything when I was growing up. So I learned how to blend in perfectly. So I'm sort of the observer. So this inner voice that you've got a neutral one. And this neutral voice in me is really strong. It's really strong, this neutral voice, this just matter of fact, just looking at the world in a matter of fact kind of way, looking at everything in a matter of fact kind of way without injecting a great deal of emotion one way or another. I can study all kinds of things from this vantage point and not feel much of anything. And I have learned that there's a place in my consciousness that is a neutral place where I try to put everything. So that's possibly why this voice has gotten rather large in me. Anyway, from Bashar's teaching point of view, you've got this neutral voice in the center, and it's bracketed on both sides by a positive on one side and a negative on the other. It's sort of the little angel on one side, demon on the other, the colloquial expression of that. And then he talks about what these positive and negative voices are. On the negative side, the voice is they're divided into a female and a male version of the negative voice. The negative male is the father, the what is the adjective that he uses? It's the father that thinks that you are not enough. The one that thinks you didn't achieve enough. You didn't work hard enough. That if only you will strive harder and harder to be worthy of, then I will love you. It's that one, the one that's berating you all the time. That's the critical father. That's the word. That's the adjective. The critical father. And in biblical terms, I think that Bashar called it the father of lies. The father of lies. You are worthy. You are enough. Just by being here, you are worthy. You are magical. Because this matrix is magical. And when you understand how it works and how your equipment relates to how it works, then you realize what's possible. Anyway, I don't want to digress too far. I'm talking about the inner voice. The female version of this inner voice, I think it's called in biblical terms, she's the whore of Babylon, but she's the great deceiver. She's the one that tries to tell you that the ends justifies the means. and whatever means that taking this cheap, easy way that looks that's the way to go, instead of being true to the frequencies. No, you don't need to do that. Do this other thing. She whispers Grima Wormtongue in your ear about, and in biblical terms, she's the whore of Babylon, seducing you into that evil side. But she's just a voice, bracketing the neutral voice, and on the other side, on the positive side, is the loving, supportive father and the nurturing, unconditional mother. That's the positive side. But in the center is this neutral voice that's just looking at everything, that's just observing what is and not injecting any emotion one way or the other. I'm not sure whether that is your inner being. I'm not really sure. And it's possible that the emotion comes from, I don't know, Abraham says that our inner beings lay in the pure positive side. They probably do. They abide in the land that is, with a capital I. They're nowhere near the is not. And by the way, I talked about the is and the is not earlier. If you missed that part of the show, go watch that, because I thought that was what I was contemplating this morning. The is and the is not. And how our negative self is actually an aspect of our personality that gets all bound up in things that are not, that do not exist, that are not true. Things like, literally, that don't exist. Like, I'm really all mad at myself because of that thing I did not do. How about that one? Or that degree I didn't get. That's something that isn't real. That degree I didn't get. Why am I mad about a degree that doesn't exist? You see how that works? So, I was contemplating the momentous nature of the is versus the is not, and how your inner being is really only she only has time to think about what is, who you really are, and what you've been doing for the last 14 billion years and beyond, because who your inner being really is the formless field, capable of coming into any form, especially once she understands, ooh, this is how this field works. I just need to get my two aspects in phase with one another, into alignment with one another, into coherence with one another. And then, boo, the sky is the limit for humanity. I believe that for the last many thousands of years, for all of the time that we have been here and not known who we are, anywhere where life gets rough, anywhere where it's a challenge, it is this lesson wanting to be learned. Who am I? Who am I, and why am I here? What's the point of it all? I'll tell you what the point of it is. It's joyful sustainability. Joyful sustainability with one another in peace and harmony and beauty and efficiency and life and abundance. And joyful co-creation. That is who we are. That is who we are. And it is my intention to further our consciousness of this great vision that we have for ourselves, what we are all about. We want to make it to the 22nd century and the 23rd century in order to play with one another, in order to dance with one another and make love to each other and taste each other's food and wear each other's clothing and, travel to the stars with one another, share ideas, and link up in this amazing, amazing way. Let's have fun as we expand our knowledge of who we are and our sense of what is possible. From that place of what is possible, the problems that we have now on planet Earth become just sort of some stuff we got to take care of before we can get on to the really fun stuff, where we're really going joyful sustainability with the whole biofield, producing abundance and beauty and fun and relationship and speed. All the things we want, all the things we want. It looks like I'm coming up on an hour for my recording, a little over an hour for the streaming. I'm going to go back to the chat room one more time. Maybe say goodbye to my one faithful listener. By gosh, you just don't even know how important you are to me. I only need one ear for me to feel that reflection back to me in a way where I can feel how it makes me different when I feel like I'm talking to somebody, as opposed to if I just feel like I'm talking to myself. Although if you listen to me, you know that I am the whole thing too, but it just helps. It just helps. So anyway, let's see if I can work my chat. My chat thing is all the way down to the... Are you still there by any chance? Because I'm just going to say goodbye, and then maybe I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is New Year's Eve. It looks like you're still there. And it's just you. Why are you the only one that... What does it look like when... Do you see this snowy thing? I don't even know how you find me and nobody else does. It doesn't matter. I am feeding the field. And I gotta go. And so... Oh, here you've said something. I'm still listening. Another fantastic live. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you, dear Indigo. I may be back tomorrow. It will be the last opportunity I get to do one in 2024. And then we are on to a new... Is it a new quarter century, or do we have to get through 2025? Anyway, until tomorrow, God bless. Stay positive. It's your own. It's the only part of yourself that's real. Only the love is real. The rest of it's going on, but it ain't real. So focus on the love. Focus on the love. Focus on the connection. Focus on the win-win. Focus on the positive possibility, because I promise you, we have nothing but wonderful things in our... Well, that may not be true. We may have a few bumps, but our ultimate future is nothing but blue skies. So until tomorrow, God bless, and may the source be with you.